Well, what is good, Maine Mariners Nation? Hope everybody is having a great evening here. Tuesday night, I am clearly not at home. I am in a random hotel room up here in Bangor, Maine. So, having a good time here. Got some work stuff to do. I'm just trying to figure out how to get the Instagram feed going. For anybody watching on Instagram, I'm kind of new to this stuff, so I am not figuring this one out. So might have to take a moment on the Instagram piece. But anyway, hope everybody's having a great day out there. Of course, our Maine Mariners losing last night in Game 7, season over, series over. What a brilliant ride, though, it was for this Maine Mariners team. Just so much, I think, pride and just joy that they brought to all of us. And just a really good group of young men out there who just fought hard. And it was a special group, a special season. But before we get into a full breakdown of looking at the full season, we do have to go back a little bit of therapy here and go back and look at Game 7 from last night. Clearly not the boys' best game of the series. Losing this one, of course, guys, 4-3. Shots on goal. Maine did have 30 shots in this one to 25 for Wheeling, 8-9 in the first period, 9 apiece in the second, 13-7 in the third for Maine. You know, guys, a big story about this series in particular was the power play and specialty teams. Maine 0 for 5 in this one, Wheeling 0 for 1. So Maine really disciplined, not taking a lot of penalties, but not taking advantage of that power play that had been, really, really good all year. Of course, it is in that first period where Corsia and Andrew get on the board first for Wheeling, making it 2-0, really putting Maine in a tight hole. Maine getting on the board in the second period. It was Gallatin with his second goal from Cronin. That was at the 8:14 mark. And then a couple more there in the third period, making it 4-1. D. St. Val and Erdal both scoring, making it 4-1. Erdal, of course, on that empty net shot. And then, as a lot of people probably turning the game off, it's Steve-O and Cronin both getting goals there to make it close, but just kind of ran out of time in this one, losing, of course, 4-3. Kavlin just back in net, 21 saves on 21 shots. Just was absolutely phenomenal, the whole playoff and the whole year. So, just tough way to lose it. I can tell you that going into Game 7, I felt good. I felt bullish about it. I thought that, I think I said on a video before that, before the game, that I thought we were going to win and win big. I thought it was going to be one of those games where we went at them and made it 5-2, 6-3, kind of affair like we did a couple of games at home. Was not meant to be. And Wheeling moves on to the Eastern Conference Finals to face off with Florida, the Florida Everblades, a team that Maine was on the ice with this year and did well. Played well down there in Florida. I think Maine would have had a really good shot in that series. Otherwise, if they were able to get by this series with Wheeling. So tough. I know a lot of comments about the ice down there, about how it's shorter, the neutral zone is shorter, and how is that an advantage for Wheeling. Clearly not the reason that Maine lost the series, but I will say it's bizarre, man. It's banana land that the ECHL allows that they allow a team to have a non-regulation sheet of ice where they get to play. I don't get it. The building, yes, is old, but it's as old as the Cross Insurance Arena, as Keels pointed out, and no reason why they can't take out a couple of rows of seats or whatever to make sure the ice is big enough. It's just a little bit bonkers. Not an excuse, not a reason why the team lost. Just I was surprised, when I heard that we were playing on a shorter sheet of ice. Let's go back and look at some playoff numbers, though. It really was a good run. Obviously, 7-7 in the playoffs. Maine 41 goals, giving up 37, so a +4 through the 14 games. Power play through the two series, they were at 17.9%. They had 10 goals on 56 opportunities, and their PK stayed really, really good. 86%, 43 kills out of 50 there. So really, power play overall, the specialty teams overall doing a good job. Your leaders through the playoffs, obviously, Huddy was right there. Jacob Hudson, 6 goals, 10 assists, or 16 points in the 14 games. Andreev right behind him with 14 points, 6 goals, and 8 assists. Cronin, what a year Robert Cronin had. 3 goals and 7 assists for 10 points. Kalmikov, 9 points, 4 and 5 there. Jacob Perreault, 1 goal, only 1 goal, 7 assists for 8 points. Of course, only got into 10 games, so had a little bit of a injury bug in there. Sean Elliman had 7 points, Minuto 7, DeVoe 6 points, and Ben Allison, someone we'll talk about here in a minute. 5 games played, 2 goals, 2 assists, and 4 points for him. Looking at some of the defense, it was Owen Gallatin that really stood up in this playoff run. 2 goals and 5 assists for 7 points. So really just great numbers for him. And what found money he was this year when he joined the team. Kowalski doing a great job bringing him in. And of course, looking at the net, it was Luke Kavlin getting into 10 games, a 2.02 goals against and a .924 save percentage. Really hard to blame him for this loss. RV did get into 4 games, getting 2 wins, 3.17 and an .892 save percentage for himself. So, guys, where did this series go wrong for the Maine Mariners? You get down 0-2, which is obviously very, very hard to ever, climb out of when you're in an 0-2 hole. And when they came back to the Cross for Game 3, I remember seeing DJ outside the security door. Of course, DJ is the Wheelie Nailers play-by-play voice. And I kind of joked with him. I said, you guys, here to end our season, basically, in this Game 3. And he kind of laughed. He's like, I don't know. This could still be a long one. And, he was right. Maine battling back. I mean, the character in that room to battle back and win 3 games in a row. The mental toughness, the physical toughness to battle, not just, again, the physical nature and aspect of this with all the games they played. I mean, they had a stretch of 7 games in 9 days. And those other 2 days were not off days. Those were travel days. And then to go into that double overtime game and win that one, it was a week ago, last Tuesday, to bring it back to 2-2 was, again, pretty phenomenal. And when we went into Game 5, I remember me and Keels talking before the game, like, I don't have a feel for this. I don't have a feel for Game 5. I have no idea how this thing is going to go in Game 5. And to be able to go out and get that game and to take the lead in the series, again, very, very impressive. Something that, Keels and I talked about, too, was that Mariner teams in years past would have lost that game. They would have lost Game 5. They would have had all that emotion from winning Game 4 in the double overtime, and then they would have dropped, a Game 5. And, give Kowalski credit for having these guys prepared, having them mentally prepared, physically prepared. And, after they won those 3, it just, it felt like they did have a little momentum. Now, I know momentum doesn't really carry over always in a series, but it felt like they had real control of the series full on. And we knew. You go into this game, you go into this series, you know that you have to win one on the road. You have to. You only get 3 at home. You have to pick one of those 4 games and win it. And they just were not able to get over the hump. As close as some of those games were, of course, 2 overtime games in Wheeling, not able to pull it out. And last night really was kind of a, they were there, they were right there, only down by goal. But again, they get down 2-0 early. And man, it is hard to dig out of that. It's just hard to dig out of that. And they did everything they could. Took it right down to the 3rd period where they just needed 1 to get by Gauthier and give Gauthier credit. He was, really, really good. Although I think Maine kind of figured him out a little bit. And I will say, in looking at this series, I think a question we have to ask ourselves is truly, and I know we're all Mariner fans here, or most of us probably are, did the better team win this series? And that's really the question I've been kind of struggling with all day is, did the better team really win this series? Full value to Wheeling. They're a great team. They're well coached. They're deep. They have a lot of AHL guys. They're well structured. They play with some good pace. But I didn't see anything. I saw truly nothing in 7 games that made me fearful as a Maine Mariner fan. I really didn't. I truly didn't. I think they're good, but I didn't think they were really any better than Maine. I think there were times in this series where Maine was clearly the better club. I think they did figure out a little something on Gauthier that allowed them to get back into the series. And I just really thought, man, that they had it. I thought they had them dead to rights. Something Mike mentioned last night as the game was ending is that, looking at it now in retrospect, it really feels like, Maine's best shot was Game 6. That was their opportunity to win this series and take it. And that was my prediction, that they were going to win this in 6 games. And again, just a nip and tuck game that goes to overtime. And man, oh man, the Ben Allison shot, the Ben Allison overtime breakaway, that's going to be the moment that we're going to remember. And feel bad for the kid because he came in, late in the year and got, injected into this lineup right in the, kind of right in the middle of it, hadn't played a lot, and is phenomenal. Had a 3-point game and 4 points in 5 games total, and played well, earned his right into that lineup. And that's going to probably haunt him a little bit that he wasn't able to just lift the puck over the leg pad of Gauthier. I mean, Gauthier goes down on that play. You watch it. Allison comes in with the speed that he has, makes Gauthier make a move, and was able to kind of wait him out enough, but just wasn't able to lift the puck over that leg pad. And obviously we know what happens. Wheeling goes on to win, getting that shot through on that power play, late in the first overtime, and forcing the game 7. So tough one there. I think that that would have been just such an epic ending to the series. But when we look at some of the numbers, looking at the 4 losses, games 1 and 2, games 6 and 7, when we look at the power play in those 4 games, 1 for 16. 1 for 16. As good as the power play was all year, and as good as the power play was really in the playoffs, when you look at the numbers, they weren't horrible. I think 17, I don't have it in front of me now, 17-18%, something like that. 1 for 16 in these 4 losses. I know it's kind of nitpicking some numbers a little bit, but that's the series, guys. When 2 of those games, 2 of them are overtime games. You can't get 1 more power play someplace in there to take a lead. It's tough. It's just tough stuff. So it's over. And I'm sad. I'm sad. I really thought we had a great opportunity to get to the Eastern Final, something that the Maine Mariners have never done in the 7 years they've been here. And good on Wheeling. I think it's their first trip to the Eastern Final since, I want to say, 2016. So it's been a solid decade for them too, being able to get back there. And I think just a lot of respect between the 2 clubs. But really, when you look at the season, you can't win a game there in the playoffs. You didn't win there all year. You're 0-6, throughout the whole year in that barn, and you just needed one. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's not a lot to nitpick, really. Kavlin was great. I thought that the changes that Kowalski made to the lineup, especially coming back for game 3, all worked really well, especially the Ben Allison move, bringing him in. And I think sticking with Kavlin was the right move. I know there's going to be people out there saying, Harvey should have had another shot. I don't think so. I mean, I love Harvey. We all love Harvey, but Kavlin was playing lights out. And you had a day off in between game 6 and 7, so there wasn't a worry about getting too tired or being overworked. He was the right guy, and when you look at the game, maybe he wasn't his sharpest last night, but I also think the team in front of him wasn't as sharp either. You just wonder if maybe the fatigue kind of caught up to him, to the group a little bit. But man, let's just, take a step back, season in perspective. I mean, this is the first year the Maine Mariners have won a playoff round. First year they've made it to a second round, hosting a playoff series for the first time, beating those damn Adirondack Thunder, which was just, a team that was kind of a thorn in our sides all year, and winning games that, again, typically this team hasn't won in the past. Winning that game 7, back at the Cross. What a moment that was for the group. Winning those games 3, 4, and 5 against Wheeling, and really some exciting hockey at the early part of the week where the barn only had, I say only, over 3,000 each night. I thought it was actually quite good for early in the week. And man, just for you Maine Mariner fans, just hats off to you guys for all the support that you gave the team this year. I really feel like there's a home ice advantage because of our fans. We have some rabid ones out there that really get after it, and it can be a hard place to play. And on a Monday night, you bring out 3,200 people. That's really good. That's really good. So, we know that you guys will all be back there in October when we're all back for more hockey. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I do think, no doubt, the best season in the Mariners history. I don't think that's even close. They were very close to, I think, they tied for the most wins or most points, something like that. I know Keels had talked about that. And, of course, just the playoff success and getting to a Game 7 in the second round, that close to the Eastern Finals, is quite an accomplishment. Now, we all know that the ECHL stands for what? The Ever-Changing Hockey League, right? That's what it stands for. And, it's going to be changes. as much as we want to bring this entire team back, there's going to be changes. I just think that what Coach Kowalski did this year was absolutely phenomenal. He was just a guy that I don't say we were above our skis getting him, because I think that there's obviously an opportunity here for him to kind of rebuild his career a little bit after just a horrendous time in Bridgeport. Um, but he's a class act guy, and getting him here at this level, at the ECHL level, with all of his experience, all of his just work he did in the American League and the NHL, and all of his connections really played out well. You look at all the trades he made, the Minuto trade, the Zach Jordan trade, getting guys like Nick Anderson and Gallatin here, getting Max Andreev here. Man, he brought in some guys, and just phenomenal. I mean, he was phenomenal with us, in the media all year, just kind and generous. But I think that the guys really learned a lot. And I think the players that played for him really got a lot out of it. He's a really top-notch player development guy. And his first year being a GM, I remember talking to him early in the year when he first got hired, and they talked about him being the GM. It's a new role for him. He wasn't sure. He was excited about it, but he wasn't really sure what to expect. And man, I mean, full value there to what he did as a general manager. So great for him. Is he back next year? It's a question. It's just a question. I have no inside knowledge. I have no idea what we're going to see, if he's going to be back, if he's going to get offers from the American League or elsewhere. I won't be shocked. I won't be shocked if an American League team comes calling, if an NHL team comes calling for an assistant role. None of that would be a shock. And it's that happy, sad, right? It's the, I think we're all cheering for him. We'd all love to see him get the promotion, get back up to the American League. But we'd also be very, very sad if he's not back here next year. So I think it's too early to tell. I think if Coach came on, he wouldn't be able to tell you. I think probably he would say his plan is to be here, but you never know. You never know what's going to happen. So that's going to be a huge story to watch as we get into the off season. Is, will he stay, and will he get other offers to go elsewhere? Got a lot of AHL contracted players on this team. Guys like Jacob Perreault, guys like Max Andreev, Brooklyn Kalmakov, Hudson, Loki Johansson, Bruins guy, Kavalin, Bruins guy. These guys, may be able to earn their way up to the American League more full time. I do think Kavalin is probably done in the ECHL. I don't see how he has anything left to prove at this level. So I would fully expect him to move forward. I know that, there's a chance Arvanitis could be back, and hopefully he will be. And I know we have the young kid, and I don't have his name right in front of me, but the young college netminder we just brought in. I know somebody out there will probably have that information. The Bruins organization does a great job with young goaltenders. So we know that even if Kavalin's not here, we're going to be, just fine in net. But some of these other guys, some of these big goal scorers, where do they end up? Do they end up getting time back here? Do they earn, a ticket to Providence for full time? Or, like Sean Elliman, does he go elsewhere? Do they go elsewhere to other American League clubs and get contracts elsewhere? So there's some of that to be worried about. But again, if Coach Kowalski is here, I have no doubt that he's going to do like he did this year and bring in just some amazing guys at this level, use his connections and things like that. I look at Robert Cronin. Man, I hope this kid gets an AHL deal. I really do. He was so good this year. I think kind of got robbed of not being, one of the rookie of the year kind of candidates. He was just so good. Career year for himself coming out of UNH, a year ago. And I think he's done enough to earn an American League look. And so we'll see. It's just, again, so early to tell right now if what we're going to see, who's going to come back. It'll really be probably in July when you'll start to see some of these contracts get signed, some of the guys. I think you will see, as Keels mentioned it last night, that a lot of these ECHL guys who are here, most likely, they'll want to come back. I mean, it was a great culture, from Dexter Payne in ownership and how he treats the players, and, from the improvements to just the housing and things like that, to the type of coaching they got here, the kind of development they got here with Coach Kowalski, and just you guys, the fans, and that barn. I mean, it's a pretty iconic place to play, at this level, and to play in front of, big crowd, really, good crowds and a loud building. I think, a lot of players, will talk about that it does give them energy, and it gives them, it's just a lot of fun for them. So I think you will see a fair amount of these guys who are ECHL level guys want to be back here. Yeah, I wish I had more to say. I don't certainly have any inside knowledge on what's going to happen. And I do think when you have a good year like this and you have players who have kind of career years, other GMs are watching, other GMs are looking. So, won't be shocked if we lose a couple of these guys to other clubs, other NHL clubs or AHL, clubs and contracts. So we'll see what we get. We'll see what we get. Of course, this summer I will, get Keels back on at some point, and that'll be good to get him on to talk. I'm sure I'll be able to get Dexter Payne back on at some point this summer, and have some conversations. And I know that everybody loves Keels' interviews when players sign, and we did some of that last year. I think sometimes there's availability issues with the players, but no doubt we'll as guys get signed, we'll do our best to get them on. Keels will do that as well on his end too. So just looking over here at the comments from hold on here, from Black and Blue Fins. Great job covering the team this year. Well, thank you. I do appreciate that. It was a lot of fun. My second year being a media member and being able to go to games. And this year, obviously a lot different, being in the broadcast booth with Keels was, as I've said before a couple of times, not something that was really a dream for me, because I would have never dreamt I would have had this opportunity. So it wasn't like a dream come true, but it felt that way for sure. It was something I never thought I would do. And when he opened the door for me to consider this last summer, I was kind of blown away by it. And I remember getting his email, I think it was July, and I kind of laughed. I was like, there's no way I'm qualified. Some of you guys might think that. I'm definitely not a professional at that, but he kind of dragged me, into the preseason games. Said, let's give this a try. And I think as the time went on, I did get more comfortable. And Mike was just a good coach in there as well, and we were able to get some good chemistry in the booth and able to play off each other really well. And definitely some funny moments with. I know this winter I had a bit of a coughing fit for like a month, and he had a couple of those as well. And I had one game where I can kind of talk about it now. I think it was game 2 against Adirondack. My kid was with me, my 6-year-old, which is not professional to have a kid with you in the box, but I had no other options. I had no babysitter. I had no other option. It was either stay home with him or he comes with me. And Mike's like, well, let's give it a shot. Let's bring him up. And I was just so distracted. He did such a great job during the game, but there was one time where he actually took a couple steps out of the box, out of the booth, middle of a play, and I'm like reaching for him, grabbing at him, and luckily my cord on my headset was long enough, and Mike had no idea what was going on, but I'm like grabbing my kid and sitting him down, and I took my headset off. Kid, you have to stay here. There's 6,000 people in the barn right now. You cannot get up and just walk around. So not something we'll try again, but being able to share that with my kid too, he had a heck of a time that night. Really loved it, really enjoyed it. But yeah, overall the experience was just phenomenal, and I cannot wait. I certainly hope for that opportunity to be back there next year with Keels, and I hope Keels is back too. Of course, we all know everybody at this level is trying to get up to the next level, and Mike's been doing this here in Maine for a long time, and I hope he's here for a long time selfishly, but I think we all would agree that he's one of the very best, and he absolutely deserves another opportunity, up the ladder in the American League. And again, I have no knowledge of anything, but we'll see. We'll see what happens, but hopefully, selfishly, I hope he is back next year. Another comment here from Black and Blue Fins. Job posting for the head coach GM was posted 3 days ago. If I lived in the area and didn't have really young kids, I would throw my hat in the ring. Are you talking about the Maine Mariners head coaching job? Is that something that was posted? Maybe I'm not familiar. I'm not sure if that's it or not, but curious if that's already posted from the Maine Mariners. I guess I'll have to check in on that and see what's up. But unless you're talking about another head coach job someplace else, I'm not really sure. But I think that, again, that's going to be something to watch this year. Like I said, with Coach Kowalski, does he stick around and come back? Does he get an opportunity elsewhere? Should be something to watch. And knowing Dexter as well, I'm very thankful I've gotten to know Dexter a little bit. He really cares about this organization. It's so great having local private ownership, family ownership, someone who's really committed to this area, to Portland. And he said something very funny. The first time I talked to him, the first time I had him on the podcast, I don't know if you guys remember, he said, you don't, I think he said this on the podcast, maybe he said it off camera. He said, you don't buy an ECHL team to make money. He's like, this is not a money-making venture for me. I'm buying this team because I want to win. I want to win, and I'm going to spend the money and spend the resources to win. And you're seeing that here already in year 2. You know, the team is one shot away from going to the East Finals. He invested heavily in getting someone like Coach Kowalski here, upgrading the players, housing situation. There's going to be more upgrades to come. He's talked a lot about the different things that are going on out there. Some things that are maybe on hold, but some long-term, some great plans that Dexter has to make this a real grade A destination for ECHL players. And no doubt this, even though we see a lot of change, from on the roster from year to year, I think there are some foundational building blocks that the team overall can take with them from this year and build to next year, because there will be plenty of returning players, and hopefully, the same coaching staff will be in place. But this was a great building year, and I think it's just going to get better from here. I think getting this close, someone like Dexter Payne he's going to spend the summer being a little salty about it, I think, and I think he's going to just continue to invest where he needs to get the right people here, the right players here, and just continue on. So, yeah, I mean, heck of a year. I know it hasn't even been 24 hours since the Game 7 ended, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about it, just talk through Game 7 a little bit, talk about some of the things that happened in the series, and just get excited for next year. I know it just ended, but man, summer goes quick. We all know that summer goes really quick up here. Before you know it, it'll be training camp time, and we'll be back at the Cross in October. I know the schedule is out, so you can go check that out. I think we open in Worcester, if I'm not mistaken, and then I think it's, I want to say, what is it, October 17th or 18th, something like that, will be our first game at the Cross. So should be a lot of fun. They're going to check the comments. We said, okay, we got Black and Blue. Yes, the main head coach job was posted. Okay, interesting. All right. Well, I guess Keel's going to get a phone call from me tomorrow. We're going to find out more about that, but thanks for sharing. Yeah, maybe that decision's already been made, that he's going to move forward. Don't know. But regardless, if this is a one-and-done year for Coach Kowalski, hats off. Well done. He's been just a phenomenal guy to get to know, and to watch him do his magic as a GM and head coach. Absolutely phenomenal. And of course, former Portland Pirate. So this is a guy who's a Maine, whether this is it for him here or not. And again, going back to my comments about Dexter, if Coach does move forward, we know that Dexter's going to go out and find the absolute right candidate, whether it's Tolkien, whether it's, throw some other names out there, Derek Whitmore, perhaps. Maybe there's some other guys out there with a lot of Maine ties. A lot of really good candidates potentially out there, but yeah, we'll see. I'm going to definitely get some feedback, hopefully from some guys I know inside, and see what we know about this job posting, because that is, especially if it posted 3 days ago, we weren't even done yet. So, I don't know. But yeah, guys, any other comments about the season, leave those here, or obviously get back at me on my social media. And to that point, just a big thank you to you guys. Follow me on the podcast as well. It's grown. It's a slow, steady growth. It can be a little bit frustrating at times, but you guys have really been just awesome in supporting me in this. I'm up over, I think, 2,200 subscribers now on YouTube, and so that's great. And yeah, I'm definitely getting more feedback, more comments. One thing I've heard from fans is I want more live streams. So part of why I'm doing this again, another live stream, is to try to create this more as a more interactive, so we can all kind of talk and get to know each other a little bit. I'm happy to do that. And quite honestly, it's easier for me because when I'm done with a live stream, I'm done. I don't have to spend 2 hours editing or post-production stuff like I do on my recorded stuff. So as much as I do enjoy that, sometimes live streams can be a lot easier. And, one of my guys I follow, I've had him on the podcast too, with Ace from Running with the Devils podcast. He's a phenomenal podcaster, covers New Jersey Devils stuff. He's got to be close to 10,000 subscribers now, but he does a post game after every Devils game, and I'll go on sometimes just to see. He'll get 200 and 300 people on a chat, and it's just phenomenal. Um, I'm not even jealous of that, but it's like something I would love to see, a live stream here get to at some point. I know it's different, right? Covering the Devils versus covering an ECHL club like I do. But I love his stuff, and trying to steal a little bit from what he does with his live streams is something I'm going to try to do here moving forward. And before we dive into Stanley Cup and NHL stuff, which I want to talk about as well, I want to talk a little bit about this summer and kind of what the plans are. I'm coming up to the end of 2 years doing this now. I think it was May 23rd and May 24th, 2 years ago. So I'll be starting my third season on the podcast. And each year I have done a little bit of a breakdown of the Stanley Cup final, after each game. So I'm hoping to do some of that as time allows. We'll obviously cover the NHL draft and see how that all breaks down. Of course, Toronto of all teams sitting on that McKenna #1 pick, so that's lovely if you're a Bruins fan, right? Let's see what the Bees do. I think they're at pick 19 this year, and then we'll look at July 1st, obviously the first year of the fiscal year, and free agency opens. I'm not sure what free agency is going to look like this year, but I will hope to do a live stream on that day as news comes in to talk about all the moves. And I feel like there's going to be less free agency movement, maybe more trade movement this year in the NHL. That won't surprise me at all. You just don't have a lot of big names out there, and we will talk about some here in just a little bit. So we're going to do that, and then really it does get quiet after that. Once free agency kind of starts, the first 4, 5, 6 days, it really gets quiet. You get into kind of through 4th of July, and everybody's on vacation and at the lakes and whatnot. So what I'm hoping to do is have some more interviews this summer. I want to line up some interviews. I've got some guys I'm going to reach out to, some former Portland, players. I'm going to reach out. I got some NHL guys. I'm going to reach out to some retired NHL guys, a couple of current NHL guys too that may have Maine roots, and I'm going to try to get in touch with as well and see if we can't have them come on. I love doing those interviews. They're a lot of fun, and I've got really good feedback from you guys on those as well. So I'm going to try to fill up some of the summer with that, and then really once we get into August, we'll be doing NHL team previews. I think last year I did divisional previews just because of time. I didn't have really the time to do all 32 clubs individually. I may try to go back to that, though. I really liked that, doing all 32 teams. It gave me a chance to really get to know each roster. And that will take us through into September. And then, lo and behold, we're in training camp, and we're back at the arenas, both at the Garden in Boston and here at the Cross in Portland for hockey. So it will go quick. It will go really quick. But anybody listening, if you're listening live or listening later on the recording, if there's a certain player or coach or hockey personality you want me to interview, leave comments, get at me on my social media. Would love to hear some names of people you would like to hear from. I can't promise that I can reach each one of them, but I'll certainly add them to the list and do my best to reach out. I'm not shy about reaching out to these guys, and some of them be like, nah, I don't know who you are, and go away, and it's fine. But I'll certainly do my best to bring some of these guys on. Thinking just today, because I'm up here in the Bangor area, so I was thinking about the University of Maine program. I had Ben Barr on, head coach, last summer. Really great interview, was awesome. Would love to get him back on to talk about the next season for them. Of course, like I said, definitely we'll have Dexter back on. I'll have Mike Keeley back on, and we'll see what players, as they start to re-sign, we'll like to get some of those guys on too. So, and again, just recently, of course, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had David Eade on from WGME. A lovely conversation there. He was awesome. He was at a lot of the Mariner games. As you guys saw his coverage, and he was just fantastic. So again, anybody you think of that you want me to try to reach out to, leave those comments down below. Let's see. We got another comment here. Black and Blue posting is on Via. Okay. Yeah, we'll check that out. We're going to check that out. We're going to do a little homework here. No, I appreciate that. It's, man, the off-season's already underway. It's crazy. Crazy. So let's shift gears, guys. Let's talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs. Again, poor Michael Keeley. Oh, man, his Buffalo Sabres losing last night in Game 7 of that Montreal series. Just kind of heartbreaking birthday for Keels, having his Mariners lose and then having Buffalo lose. I know controversial non-goal there about the 10-minute mark in the third period, where Buffalo had kind of roared back and was really playing better hockey than the Canadiens towards the end, and it was the really quick whistle where Dovish didn't really have the puck secured. It gets behind him and puck goes in, and it really should have been a third goal for the Sabres. The problem is the whistle blew. The whistle clearly blew. And once that whistle blows, there's no backseas. You cannot go back and do anything about that. It blows, it's dead, doesn't matter what happens. It was a quick whistle, and it was probably too quick of a whistle. I understand what the refs are trying to do there. They're trying to protect the goaltender. They don't want guys in there, roughing up the goaltender, getting sticks in on him. They thought he had it locked up, and he didn't. So really a tough break for Buff in that one. And again, no telling if they would have won the game had that gone in and counted. No idea. Certainly would have helped, no question. You take a goal off the board like that. But but you've got Montreal heading to Carolina for the East Final. That's going to be an interesting one. And then, of course, it is the Colorado Avalanche getting ready to take on the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas, a team we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But thoughts on these two series? I think that they're going to be very different stylistically. I really do. I think that with Carolina and Montreal, it's going to be a low-scoring, more of a defensive kind of affair. We know Carolina plays a real hard, heavy defensive style. They don't give up a lot. They don't give a lot of time and space. Montreal, they've got a lot of these young kids that, are out there wheeling and running. I think they're going to run into a bunch of brick walls with Carolina in this series. I think for Vegas and Colorado, it's going to be more offense, more up and down the ice, a little bit, maybe a little more fun to watch, just because I think there's going to be more goal scoring. You guys, have guys like McKinnon and of course Marner on the other side, and just stars all over the place in that both of those lineups. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I believe it's tomorrow night Vegas and Colorado get started, and then the following night it will be Carolina hosting the Montreal Canadiens. So it's funny, I want to go back to my predictions back in September. I actually had Carolina Vegas, and I had Vegas winning the Cup. If I had that to do over again, I'm happy that they got them right here in the Final Four. It's pretty cool. If I were to pick this right now, though, I mean, obviously I'm picking Colorado like the rest of the world is, and Carolina. And I think that could be just an epic 7-game series. I don't know if anybody can stop Colorado. I think they're too deep. They're too deep down, the center dot. They're getting enough goaltending with their Wedgwood and Blackwood, and they do enough structurally defensively to stifle teams. And I do think Vegas will have the opportunity to push them a little bit. I do think they have enough offensive weapons to make it interesting, but I do think Colorado comes out of that one. And looking at the East, I think I think Carolina should be a heavy favorite going into this one. Taking nothing away from Montreal, though, what a growth it has been for the Canadiens, making the playoffs now 2 years in a row, and now getting to an East Final is a real achievement. Absolutely, and regardless of what happens with this young group, I think they've learned a lot, and I think they're going to learn a lot in this series, whether they win or lose. I think there's a lot of building blocks that are going to come from Montreal. And as a Bruins fan, it kind of pisses me off because we're going to have to deal with these guys. We just are. They're not going away anytime soon. They're young. They're growing. Martin St. Louis has been phenomenal there. And, I think they're going to be something to deal with. Let's look at the loser, though, of that game, of that series from last night, Buffalo Sabres. You can almost say a lot of the same things about them, too, that 14 years not making the playoffs. Then they make it. And they win a series. They beat Boston, a team that historically tends to take their lunch money, and they took Boston's lunch money this year, and they pushed Montreal to a 7-game series. And at times I thought we're the better team in that series. So I think there was a lot of growth there, and we'll be curious. Does Lindy Ruff come back as head coach? We're going to talk about some free agency. Obviously, Alex Tuch is a UFA. Does he come back? I think there's a lot of worry and wonder about that if you're a Buffalo fan right now. I think his stock is pretty high, despite the fact he didn't really have a great series against Montreal, a great year overall. So should be a lot of fun. Of course, we have no hockey tonight. So first night in a while that we don't have any hockey. But I do have Colorado. I do have Carolina winning those series. Who do you guys have? Who are you guys cheering for? What do you think happens in that NHL playoff? And for that matter, just because our Mariners are out of the Kelly Cup, who do you have there? You got Florida and Wheeling. I kind of think Florida's going to run them. I just do. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little salty at the Nailers for what they did to our boys, but I think Florida, bit of a house. I think Maine would have given Florida a much better run for their money, but we'll see what happens. Of course, it's Kansas City and Kansas City and Fort Wayne or Kansas City, Toledo. Now I can't remember. Regardless, I think Kansas City is going to win the West, and I'm pretty certain you're going to see Florida and Kansas City for the Kelly Cup Championship, which really two of the best teams in the league, and historically they've been really, really good. So yeah, should be a lot of fun. Other news, head coaching vacancies around the league. Man, oh man, there are some vacancies open right now. You've got Toronto open. You've got Edmonton open. You got Vancouver just today, Adam Foote being let go, being relieved of his duties. So he is out the door. And the LA Kings I'm going to put on this list too. DJ Smith is still listed as the interim head coach, but I don't think there's any question they're in the market for a head coach. I don't think DJ is the guy. So what's it look like? I mean, if you're a fan of any of those teams, who do you want? Who do you want to have as a head coach? I think that we know Craig Berube, who of course was just fired in Toronto, is, I believe, already interviewing in Edmonton, and that looks like that could be a fit. We have no idea in Vancouver. I think Vancouver's in a complete rebuild, tear it down kind of mode right now. Of course, they do have their new GM in place. Of course, Evan Gold, our assistant GM here in Boston, was a candidate for that job. Unfortunately, not able to move forward with that for himself. But and then the Toronto job. I mean, the pressure cooker of Toronto, and who's going to get that job? But looking at some of the names, of course, we have Craig Berube out there. You have Jay Woodcroft out there, who's been an assistant in Anaheim. Chris Knobloch, of course, just being let go there in Edmonton. You've got Gerard Gallant, who has been coaching over in Russia, of course. A lot of jobs here with the Rangers. He was with Vegas, been around a long time. David Carl, a name that continues to come up. Of course, the University of Denver's head coach. When does he make the jump to the NHL? He's been high on a lot of people's lists. You've got John Gruden. Not that John Gruden, not the football John Gruden, but John Gruden, coach of the Marlies, of course, former Boston Bruin player, former Boston Bruins assistant, has been running the Marlies for a couple of years. He's being talked about as maybe the right replacement in Toronto, and he might be. He's been in the system now for a while. They're going to have that number one draft pick. Maybe he's the guy. You have Manny Malhotra. You have Peter Laviolette, of course, coached in Washington and Carolina years ago, the Rangers. And, of course, David Quinn. David Quinn, who assistant in Pittsburgh? No. He was an assistant in Pittsburgh. I think, was he with maybe the Rangers? I think he was an assistant with the Rangers this year. I think he was over there with Sully. So he's another name that has kind of been kicking around. But the real story is going to be Vegas right now and Bruce Cassidy. And this saga continues to kind of rear its head. They fired him with 8 games to go in the regular year. Of course, we know how this works. He still technically has that contract. He's going to get paid the rest of that contract. I think he has one more year on it. But teams, I guess, have the ability to restrict coaches from interviewing for jobs, even after they fire them. Oftentimes, you don't see teams do this. You see teams just say, okay, we fired you. We'll obviously go get employment. We're not going to keep you away from that. But Vegas is doing very Vegas-like things right now and have denied Edmonton and the LA Kings access to interviewing Bruce Cassidy for a job, which I think is completely immoral. I think it's completely horrendous. And I mean, I know Vegas doesn't care if they're well liked. I mean, you saw what John Tortorella did, getting the big fine and losing the draft pick for shutting out the media after they beat Anaheim in that series. I mean, this is kind of how they roll. They kind of do their own thing. It's the wild, wild west for them. But I do think there's some bad karma that they are building up right now, especially with this Bruce Cassidy. I mean, you can fire him, do that if you want, but don't restrict him from going out and seeking employment elsewhere. That's, I just think, completely wrong. And I'm not alone in this. We have let me find it here, from the NHL Coaches Association, they did put out a release today, and I'm just going to read this. The NHLCA has been closely monitoring the situation involving Bruce Cassidy. The association said in a statement Tuesday, while we respect the league's rules and processes, it is our position that coaches who remain under contract but are no longer working for their club should not be prevented from pursuing other employment opportunities. It would be unprecedented at a head coaching level should multiple teams be denied permission to speak with Coach Cassidy. The situation is still unfolding, but our priority is to protect the interests of our members in this type of circumstance. I am reading this from thescore.com, so giving them credit for that there. Yeah, it's horrible. I have words I want to use, but I'm not going to use those. Of course, I'm a huge Cassidy fan. I love the man. I think he's a great coach. But even if I wasn't a big fan of his, I think this is complete garbage that Vegas is doing this. I think he'd be a wonderful fit in LA. I think he'd be a wonderful fit in Edmonton. I don't want to see him in Toronto. I'm so worried now that he's going to end up in Toronto. It's clear that Vegas is trying to lock out those Western teams from interviewing him and making him a head coach. He's going to get work. Vegas can do it whatever they want. He's going to get a job. And maybe I say Vancouver. I don't think Vancouver. I don't think that's a job he's going to want. I think LA is a perfect fit for him. I do. I think he would fit in really well with what they're trying to rebuild. And of course, they've got a long ways to go as well. But I think he would be a really good fit there. And I hate to say it, I do think he'd be a heck of a fit in Toronto. I really do. I think he could do what Craig Berube couldn't. Now, he would have a short lifespan up there. I don't think he would last very long because I think a lot of players in Toronto need to be ridden hard. I think Berube was trying to do that. I think Cassidy would be able to do that. And again, may not last long, but it might get them back on the winning ways. So we're going to keep an eye on that one. But I mean, there's some other names here like Laviolette. Does he get another opportunity? What about Gerard Gallant? What about Jay Woodcroft, who has been there with Quenneville and Anaheim? Does he get another opportunity? These are some good jobs. There's some good jobs out there. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But luckily here in Boston, we don't have that problem. Marco Sturm finishing his first year at the helm of the Boston Bruins, and what a great year he had. 100-point season and got the team to the playoffs after the team was just a dumpster fire, and that's, I think, being polite. A year prior, he really brought the team back to some structure, back to some discipline, and they were fun to watch again. There's still moments and rough around the edges at times, but really a great first year, a great building year for Coach Sturm and for the Boston Bruins. Just going to check the comments here. We got Furious got to run. Thanks for the stream. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Furious. I appreciate that. And hopefully we'll see you back on another live stream soon. But looking at the Boston Bruins, of course, the offseason's coming quick. We're down to the conference finals. Before you know it, it'll be draft. It'll be July 1st. What kind of work do we have? We know the salary cap is going up dramatically this year, $104 million. So there will be some room there. I mean, all projections, and it changes. You can go to puckpedia.com and take a look at it. They may end up with between 12 and 16 million free, might be more depending on how it works. There's all sorts of cap rules and things. Sites like Puckpedia do a great job of tracking all that. But the good news for Boston is not a lot of UFAs. It's actually, they have a lot of their kind of business already done. It's Victor Arvidsson and Andrew Peeke are the two UFAs right now for the club. I'd love to see Arvidsson back. He had a great year. I think kind of a bounce back for him. And that second line for a good part of the year was really, really good. He was a big driver of it for the group. So it'd be great to see him back. Andrew Peeke on defense. I'm kind of soured on him a little bit this year. He really didn't impress me much. I liked him earlier on when he first got over here, but I think he kind of struggled at times. Not really sure if he's a fit for Marco Sturm's system. I would not be shocked if he's not retained and brought back. The other player here, the RFA, restricted free agent, Jordan Harris. Of course, New Hampshire native, came from Columbus, didn't play a lot, got hurt early, I think in camp or early in the year, and really didn't get into a lot of games, but he is a restricted free agent, so a good chance that the Bruins will figure out a way to bring him back into the fold as well. But what are the biggest needs for this team? When we look at this Boston Bruins team, 100-point team, you had obviously Swayman bouncing back in a big way. You had a great year out of Geeky. You had a great year out of Pasta. You'd like a few more goals from Pasta, but hard to complain with the year he had. You had Pavel Zacha having a career year. Arvidsson we just talked about. You had the emergence of Fraser Minton and Kustadinov, who both were just phenomenal. And now you have James Higgins in the mix. And I think the book is still out on Higgins. What's he going to be? He looked fine when he played. The few games he played, they had him on the wing. They didn't have him down the middle yet. And I thought he did fine. For a young kid, I think we have to temper our expectations. Top pick. We know there's a lot of juice around him right now. I've talked to a couple of guys kind of in the know and guys who do a lot of scouting around. And one of my guys that I kind of rely on says, he's no more than a third line player in the NHL. I hope he's wrong. I hope this guy's wrong, because that would be a little disappointing if he's only a third line guy. But I think the biggest question is, will he be a center or will he be a wing? And I think what you've seen is the Bruins have no problem starting guys who are centers maybe in college or in juniors, bringing them up in more of a wing role. We saw it with Middlestat, another player who had a really good year for Boston. When they moved him from center to wing, all the pressure came off of him, and he played much better hockey for the team and was a big part of that second line. Maybe next year, as Higgins is developing, they start him at wing and let him maybe grow into a more of a center role down the road. We'll see. But I think we have to temper our expectations. I think the biggest needs for Boston this offseason are right shot, top four defensemen. I think it's absolutely critical, especially if you're losing Peak. I think even with Peak, you needed another defenseman. I think that was very clear as the playoffs went on, and even as we ended the year, that you needed some depth there. And that was the biggest surprise this year. I really thought it was going to be reversed. I thought the team was going to be really good defensively, sharp with their details, and they might struggle offensively. It might be a lot of 2-1, 3-2 type games. It was a complete opposite. Swayman was phenomenal. They leaned on him too much. It was the defense that struggled. It was some of your defensive pairings that struggled. It was some of your team defense that continued to struggle. Better than a year prior, no doubt. Way better than a year prior. But not as good as I thought it would be, for sure. And the offense was really good. It was really good. Better than anticipated. Big part of why they made, the playoffs and got the wild card. Their offense and Swayman just being lights out. They gave up a lot of high danger chances. I think we noted that as the year went on, that this team really struggled with some of those defensive details. You've got to get better. And I think on top four, right shot guy is what you need. I know they don't grow on trees. I know that people aren't just giving them away, but I think that's going to be a big target, whether it be in free agency or in trade. I do think that you're going to see Don Sweeney have to get creative, because I just went through the free agency list. I picked out 4 names, maybes, for this group. There's not a lot out there. There's not a lot of real difference makers out there this year. There's good depth guys for sure, but there's not a lot of big time game changers. I wonder if you don't see Sweeney go out and package some things up. You've got Matty Patra down there. You have some draft capital now to work with if you're the Bruins. Fabian Lysell, you've got some of these young kids, Merkelov. Do you start to maybe package some of these kids? I do wonder about Patra. He's another one that we haven't talked about, but kind of disappeared. Spent most of the year in Providence, and I didn't watch a lot of Providence games this year, obviously busy with the Mariners and watching the Bruins, but I think he had a good year, but I don't think he did anything to really give you hope that he's going to be, a top 6 guy, in the near future for the Bruins. So you do wonder, just from a developmental perspective, if it's just time for him to move forward and him to, find a new team. And maybe that's something that, Sweeney can package him up to go out and try to get somebody, whether it be a defenseman or, we talk about the second line all the time, and I know it's kind of cliche to say a second line center would be really great to find, but we're going to be looking for that along with 30 other teams. I think, Colorado's flying down the middle, but pretty much every other team could use a second line center. But a second line wing or center, another, scoring option. Again, most teams are going to be looking for something like that, and there's not a lot to choose from. So I am bullish on this being a heavier trade year and off season than free agent targets. But there are some targets out there. One name that kind of rings a bell from Tampa Bay, Darren Radish. He has a right shot defenseman, had a great year this year, 73 games, 22 goals, 48 assists, 70 points. You wonder if Tampa tries to retain him. He just had a phenomenal year. He would look great in a spoke B, in my opinion. Of course, the aforementioned Alex Tuch, another one that I know he's from that Western New York area, but has he priced himself out of Buffalo? And does he want to come back there? I know a certain play-by-play partner I have really is hopeful that Tuck comes back, but they've got some other younger guys that they could develop, that are developing behind him, that could easily maybe take on that role and take up that scoring that they might be missing if he walks away. He's clearly the biggest name out there, and there's going to be tons of teams going after him. I think Boston should definitely throw their hat in the mix for him, but 66 points in 79 games. Yeah, I know the playoffs, it wasn't as good, especially in that second round, but no doubt he's going to be highly sought after, and potentially maybe he goes back to Buffalo. Another one that I think Boston had been in on is Rasmus Andersson. He does end up in Vegas, started the year in Calgary, played in 81 games, 47 points, 17 goals, and 30 assists between the two clubs. Of course, still playing there in Vegas. He's one that was high on Sweeney's list. They were not able to make a trade. Does end up in Vegas, but he will be a UFA. And he's another one I think that I wouldn't be shocked if you see Sweens really go after him. And then, old enemy from Toronto, now in Seattle, center Bobby McMahon. Not a big-time game-changing type guy in terms of being a top center, but had a good year, 29 goals, 17 assists, 46 points between the two clubs, and going to be a UFA. So another guy that I think in a market where there's not a lot of depth free agency-wise, he'll probably get paid well and get paid handsomely. I wonder if Seattle doesn't try to hang on to him because they're in some desperate need of some goal scorers and things like that. One thing I have to do, guys, and I'm sorry for this, I do have to read my DraftKings ad. Of course, DraftKings is a sponsor here on the program, and I just got to give them a quick read here, guys. Hold on just a second. Now, there it is right there. The Stanley Cup Playoffs are here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has a new customer offer. When the ice gets coldest, the best players in the world show you exactly who they are. Playoff warriors turn it up round by round, and DraftKings turns it up with them from the first round all the way to the Stanley Cup Final. Bet player props, bet live from the opening faceoff to the final horn. Every moment matters. New DraftKings customers bet just $5, and you'll get $100 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN so you're ready for the moment. That's code THPN. Turn $5 into $100 in bonus bets instantly in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois, 21 plus in most states, void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer. Copyright 2026 NHL. All rights reserved. And that is why I usually record that on my podcast, so I don't have to read that. That is a mouthful. But thank you to DraftKings for all their sponsorship here with the Hockey Podcast Network and here on the channel as well. So let's get rid of that there. So with that piece of business behind us, those are the four guys I have that I pulled off. I think there were 150 names I looked at, and there just were not many that really resonated for free agent targets for Boston. Obviously, Sweeney and Evan Gold are going to have a plan in place of what they're going to go after. I do expect there to be more things happening in the trade market, though, for the Boston Bruins. So we will see what we see. We still, of course, have the Stanley Cup Conference Finals coming up. Of course, the Kelly Cup playoffs will continue on, unfortunately, without our Maine Mariners. But just again, a big thank you to all of you fans this year. I promise you this won't be the last podcast or live stream we'll be doing as I kind of ran through the schedule of things that are coming up next. It probably won't be a lot of Maine Mariners conversation just because there just won't be a lot to talk about right out of the gate. But I do promise to get Keels back on, to get Dexter Payne back on. And as we get into the summer, we'll have certainly some special guests, hopefully some players as they re-sign and come back, and hopefully some new faces as well. And so we'll see how that all goes. So thank you for joining me tonight. If you're watching on recording, thank you for checking this out, and thank you for all the support here on the podcast. Absolutely appreciate that, guys. I am going to get myself out of here and ready for bed. I've got a long day tomorrow here doing my regular job, a job that pays the bills around here. So anyways, thank you so much, guys. We'll talk again soon. Take care.